Pumpkin. Just 818-PUMPKIN. We go to Lansing, Michigan. Hello.
Hello. I would like to ask Mr. Zappa. I've been listening to his music for about 20 years, and I feel, well, in all of his music, he's always been anti-drug, anti-alcohol, anti-stupidity. And I wonder, does he feel that he's misunderstood by the American public in general? And does he feel if his music wasn't quite so eccentric that he might be better accepted?
Frank?
Well, the problem about acceptance is this. In order for somebody to accept it, they have to hear it. And I heard something when I did that CBS show Sunday night that amazed me.
Which was?
A disc jockey named Surf from Washington was one of the people in the audience who got up and made a statement. And he mentioned, just in passing, and nobody's eyebrows went up and down, that during the 60s, while he was a disc jockey, Spiro Agnew had a blacklist of groups that were not to be allowed to be played on the radio. And he said, as a disc jockey, he didn't know for sure whether he was allowed to play Frank Zappa. And I thought, this is very strange. And today, when I was in New York doing...
I never heard of that.
Okay, well, listen, I did another radio show in New York today, WNEW, with Dave Herman. And I mentioned the same thing. His head started going like this. I said, you know about this blacklist? He said, yeah, sure I do. I said, would you testify to it? He said, yes, I would. He said, as a matter of fact, I played some of those records, and the IRS hounded me for 6 years afterwards.
West Haven, Connecticut, for Frank Zappa. Hello.
Hello, Frank.
Hi.
I've enjoyed your music for many years, and I'd like to ask you about this rating system. Don't you think that maybe if they had the rating system, your albums would probably sell better because they'd probably be rated X?
Well, I don't think my albums would be rated X because a lot of the things that I put on the album are purely instrumental. And so what are you going to rate for that? Is somebody going to decide? Well, let me tell you something about that. Did you know that for years the trombone glissando was thought of as lewd and vulgar, and you could not include it in a classical composition until Schoenberg did in the early part of the century and got horrible reviews because he had a trombone going like that. That is censorship.
New York City with Frank Zappa. Hello.
Hi, I'd just like to ask Frank, I think it would be wonderful. Has he thought about running for public office?
Well, yes,
So
I have.
far, three for three, they love you.
Okay, well, I've thought about it, but you know, if you run for a public office, you want to be able to achieve something, and I think that the climate in Washington right now, if you came here to try and do something, it's so corrupt. I mean, people are lying so much. You know, a single person can't really do anything because the name of the game is politics. It's like show business. There's no statesmanship involved in it. People will say and do anything to get votes, and they spend the time in office planning for the next time somebody votes for them.
But aren't you also part of the commercialism of it, Frank?
No, I'm not.
Wait, well, we got a T-shirt here that says the same thing the warning guarantee says.
Yeah?
The T-shirt. Now,
Okay.
Isn't that commercialism?
No, it's not at all.
It's just making a statement.
That's a statement. And a person, if you agree with a statement, you can wear the shirt.
Jackson, Mississippi with Frank Zappa. Hello.
Hi, Larry. I watch your show all the time. And, Frank, I've been listening to your music since probably birth. But I have a question for Frank. Frank, what do you think about this lawsuit filed against you by the former members of the Mothers of Invention? And would you ever consider reuniting the members of the group since the early 60s up until now and maybe doing a benefit for the starving masses?
Well, first of all, the first I ever heard about a lawsuit against me from the Mothers of Invention was on CNN, because this
law first with everything.
Okay, and then somebody called me from CNN and asked me about it, and they had never served me with any papers.
Have you since been served?
Oh yes, we've been served, but we've also taken their depositions and come up with some very interesting things. The suit is connected to people who are not the Mothers of Invention. There are two other people behind this suit. It's a situation where they have a contingency fee lawyer who's out trying to drum up a class action suit. And the documents that we said, okay, you want to sue me? Bring in the documents and show me your point of view. The first day, Don Preston walked in with a box of documents, and they were all supplied by my former manager, and the documents were the suit that I had against Warner Brothers. It was just the papers he had in the closet. It's all bogus.
I don't want to get off track involved with that. Might you ever get back together?
No.
No chance?
No.
College Park, Maryland. Hello.
Hi, I'm a 13-year-old fan.
Oh, good.
How do you come up with your music and lyrics and produce them so quickly on vinyl?
Well, actually, they don't get produced very quickly on vinyl. They all take a lot of time, and coming up with the lyrics is not too hard because I watch CNN a lot, and you can't believe some of the things you hear. There's a lot of stimulating material here.
I mean, if you watch CNN all day, you can get a whole album just parodying
yeah,
the news?
you could. Yeah, well, it's not just parodying it, but there are things that you could say about it.
Do you always deal with social issues?
No, I deal with folk music type issues. For example, if somebody in the band does something that I think is unusual human behavior, I deal with human behavioral situations, okay? Social issues sometimes are those things expanded big. But a guy in the band might say or do something funny, and just like in a folk song, it would be recounted as a story.
Did your daughter invent the Valley sound?
What do you mean, that language?
Yeah.
No, she just doing recordings. That existed. The kids that she went to school with talked that way.
But she was the first to do something musical with it?
Right.
Our guest is Frank Zappa. We'll be back with our remaining moments right after this.
I'm Chris Curl. At the top of the hour, right after Larry King, Don Farmer and I will have the latest on the investigation into why a Japanese passenger plane crashed yesterday, killing more than 500 people. We'll look at how many Americans are trying to stop, even prevent crime in their neighborhoods tonight. And we'll look at how the speech therapists can use computers to help their patients. That's in a few minutes on the CNN Evening News.
Well,
I heard you today on WNBC radio today on AM, and I'm not too familiar with your music at all, but I really respected what you had to say about certain things concerning Live Aid and et cetera. I was wondering about this labeling topic you had. Are you trying to combat at all certain organizations, religious organizations, or attempting to fight these convictions from the government? And if so, do you think you can fight through all the bureaucratic garbage that one necessarily has to put up with when talking about certain things like that?
You're going to win or going to lose?
Well, it's not a question of win or lose, because I understand they're going to have hearings. The Goldwater Committee is having hearings in September, and I'm going to testify, and I don't know whether a person can win a situation like that, but if you don't stand up and say something, you got to.
Yakima, Washington. Hello.
Yes, Mr. Zappa?
Yeah.
Yes, I have one question for you. I believe that 14 or 15 years ago you did a live album with John Lennon.
Yes.
And I would just like to know, what did you think of the man and his talent and what he did with music?
Okay.
Okay, I thought John Lennon was a very nice person.
What about his talent?
As far as his talent goes, I was never a Beatles fan.
You weren't?
No, I wasn't. I can name you 3 Beatles songs I enjoyed: Paperback Writer, Strawberry Fields Forever, and I Am the Walrus. The rest of them I didn't like that much.
But you liked him as a person?
Yeah, he was a nice guy.
Good musician?
Yeah.
Ann Arbor, Michigan. Hello.
Hi, Frank, I just want to compliment you on the job you're doing. I think it's great that someone's standing up to these people. And the question I want to ask you is, I saw Tipper Gore on PBS Late Night America, and she went on and on naming all these groups and giving them all free publicity. What's the point? Why don't we talk about the people who are doing something good instead of shelling out all this free publicity? And don't run for public office. You don't have to lower yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Well, let me make a comment about the giving the people free publicity. On the show, which will air on Sunday night on CBS, the debate that I had with this other representative of their cause, she, for an hour, recited the lyrics to every song that talked about masturbation, giving head at gunpoint, all this kind of stuff, without publishing clearance from the groups in question, which I don't think is very fair.
I mean, she mentioned lyrics you didn't.
I never mentioned any lyrics at all. She was reading them word for word.
Seattle, Washington. Hello.
Hi, I read an article, Frank, once where you said that you thought of yourself as a composer who just happened to play the guitar. I thought that was pretty insightful. A few questions. What is the cat saying to the pumpkin on your record labels? Are you going to release any music on compact disc? And maybe Baby Snakes on a video cassette?
Okay,
you want to run through them.
Okay, Baby Snakes is available now on video cassette. Call 818-PUMPKIN. There is one CD available now. It's on Angel. It's Pierre Boulez conducts Frank Zappa, and the name of the album is The Perfect Stranger. And I forgot what the other question was.
Okay, last call. We go to Baltimore. Hello.
Hello. Frank,
Yeah.
Imagine that the Pentagon took 1/3 of 1% of their budget and bought ABC TV. Where would that place us in relation to your music and the world of civil rights and freedom and
what does that mean?
Rights and pardon?
What does that question mean, sir?
This is a baffling concept.
Well, imagine that
the Pentagon buys ABC, then what?
ABC TV, right?
Yeah. Right.
Where would that place us in this realm of Third Reich?
They probably run fourth behind the Independents. I don't think the programming would be very interesting. The Cap Weinberger show Sunday nights would be a smash. I don't think that could miss with the dancing and everything. Not many people know that Cap can dance. Frank will do it again.
Thanks, Larry.
Frank Zappa. Earlier, Foster Winans. Tomorrow night, Mike Farrell and maybe another surprise. Stay tuned for Don Farmer and Chris Curl. Up to the Minute Sports an hour and a half from now. We'll see you on the radio later talking about prison reform. This is Larry King for the whole gang here at CNN in Washington. We thank you for joining us, and we bid you a pleasant good evening.
If you would like to comment on tonight's program, write to CNN Larry King Live, 2133 Wisconsin Avenue Northwest, Washington, D.C., 20007.